People love the idea of community, but building one and in a whole nother country, that's a different story. Okay, Key. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Okay, Key. If you're new here, I'm Key, the creator of Adventures While Black, along with my partner and my husband, Peace. Okay, so we host a community organization based in Thailand, and we have done so for over 2 years now. Through experiences, we connect melanated travelers while they're living in or passing through Thailand. But in this space, we talk real life, real lessons, and the stuff that people don't always say out loud. On today's episode 3, I want to talk about what building community in Thailand really looks like. And this doesn't even have to specifically be about Thailand. It could be about another country or even another city. This could go for building a community in any space, really. But for one I want to talk about today, it will lean around the community abroad and curating events within that community. Make sense? Because I think from the outside looking in, people see the flyer, they see the venue, they see the people laughing, they, go to social media, they see the photos, they see the turnout and the reels and the hugs, and, they leave comments like, oh, that's beautiful. And it is beautiful. But what people don't always see is the labor behind the beauty. They don't always see the planning or the emotional energy that's put into the curation, right? The consistency, the follow-up, the people skills, the leadership, the problem solving, the pressure of making sure that people feel welcome and safe in a space that essentially you curated. People see the moment, but they don't always see what it took to make the moment feel like that. And I wanted to talk about this today because I think that people sometimes assume that building community is just putting people in a room or in a venue together and hoping that everybody vibes out. Because that's not it. That is not what building a community is. I mean, come on, that might be like a gathering. You could even call it hanging out or even a little event, but Community is deeper than that. Community is trust. It's consistency. Community is energy. It's intention. It's creating a space where people can feel like they can exhale, I guess you could say. And creating that in Thailand or anywhere else really, but especially in a transient place where people are always coming and going, it's beautiful, but it's definitely some work to build. So let me just get into a few things that for me are the part of what building community in Thailand really looks like. And if you pay attention, I'm about to give you the ingredients. You must have consistency. Now, consistency is not always going to be it. I can tell you that right now because it's a lot. And the way I've noticed it to work is people love a hot moment. They love a cute flyer. They love a little launch. They love the idea of connecting with folks and being outside. But what actually builds community is showing up over and over again. So in the example of doing events, it's like showing up week after week, even when you're tired, even when your own life is life in, or, people just don't know what it took for you to put all this together. Or even when some events are bigger than others and the algorithm ain't algorithming. When you don't even feel like being social yourself, you just ain't feeling it. You got to know how to push through. You got to know how to come through for the people, because consistency is what tells people when they walk into your space that this is real. They feel safe. They feel like this is something I could come back to. And I think that's a huge part of what Adventures While Black has grown, because people know we really out here doing this. It's not a one-off. It's not when it's convenient. It's not when something looks like it's the thing to do. We've been intentional and we're consistent. The space that we've curated is cared for. And especially here in Thailand, where so many people are passing through and relocating or trying to figure things out. Some of them are only here for a short time, so consistency becomes even more important. Because when somebody is far from home, they value something that they can count on. People really do plan these connects with us before they even come here. So it's nice to be able to offer them something that they can look forward to. And in order to do that, you gotta be consistent. All right, the next thing I feel like you should know how to do when you're building a community abroad is knowing how to hold space for all kinds of people. Now, this one right here, community is beautiful. It even sounds beautiful, but community means people. And people come with all kinds of things. I mean, like different personalities, different expectations, different communication styles, different comprehension levels, different moods, different triggers, trauma. Everybody has different intentions. And then there's the people that come excited, because they genuinely want to build community. They come ready to connect. Some come, when they come in, they're nervous, or some just want to come and observe first, like they're like the ones that, who all gonna be there type of energy. And when you're that person that's curating that space, you have to be able to know how to hold all of that. You have to know how to read the room. You got to know how to make newcomers feel welcome. And you have to know when somebody needs warmth, when somebody needs some space. You have to know when the energy feels off in the room. And you definitely have to know how to protect what you built without making the space feel like stiff or weird. And honestly, I think this is where people underestimate community building the most, because they really just think it's like pick a venue, make a flyer, post it online, people show up, and no shade. That's the easy part. It really is. The real part happens once the people arrive. Can the people feel the intention? Can they feel the safety? Can they feel the openness? Can they feel the space that was created, for care, if that's what you're offering? That's what matters. And that's what'll keep people coming back, that connect. All right, the next thing that I feel like you should definitely practice while you're building community is discernment. Now, because this is Thailand, and like anywhere else, everybody always comes into your space is not necessarily meant to stay in your space. That's just me being real. So when you're building something that's visible, people come around for all kinds of reasons. Some gonna come because they got genuine intentions. Some gonna come because they really do need community. Some gonna come because they're curious and they respect what you're building, And some gonna come because they want access. Some come just to observe, some come to compare, some come to be inspired, because I can't help that we be out here inspiring fools. And some come trying to figure out how to copy the formula without even understanding that there is real heart behind it. That happens. Trust me, I done seen some things. And I must say, when you're doing the most, you become an inspiration, whether folks want to tell you or not. All you got to do is pay attention to those around you, and if you're building real community, especially as a visible Black brand out here in Thailand, that discernment matters, because you have to know how to protect the integrity of what you built. You got to know what aligns and what doesn't. You got to know that everybody smiling at you ain't necessarily supposed to be in your space, because they ain't for you. You have to know how to stay open without being naive with these people. Like, for real, like, I love my people, but they are truly some of the hardest people to work for. You really do be your own people. And that doesn't make you mean, and it doesn't make you too good. It makes you wise, folks, because people move weird, and you can't control that. All right, the next thing to remember when building community in Thailand or abroad is to learn how to practice boundaries. Now, if I'm being honest, this is one of the biggest lessons for me personally, because when you care deeply, it's easy to overgive. It's easy to answer every message. It's easy to feel responsible for everybody. It's easy to become the resource person for everything, to feel like the community needs you every second. But also knowing that everybody is going to have questions or needs or suggestions all the time. And while there's beauty in being that trusted space, they also got to be aligned. If there's no line, community can start to pull, too much from the person that's building it. Like sometimes I wonder if people don't read, or like if people don't watch, like the videos with all the information in it. Sometimes I feel like people just see if, they message just to see if they're going to get a response, because the flyer can have all the information on it, date, time, everything, but they still going to message and ask what time is the event. And that right there is when I got to insert a very kind no. You got to have boundaries. It's not sustainable. I can love my community and still say no. Creating access without making myself endlessly available anytime someone comes calling. Boundaries are needed for a healthy community. They protect the person holding the space. They protect the longevity of what's being built, the quality of the experience, and they must be respected. The last thing that I think people need to build a healthy, long-lasting community, really, it's love. It's not ego. It's not status. It's not wanting to be seen or wanting to say that you run something, not wanting the appearance of being a leader. No, man, it's just love. Because if you don't actually love people, love connection, and like love what community can do, this work will tire you out real fast. They know when something has heart. They can feel when a space was curated with intention. They can feel when something was, made real, versus just for the show. And for me, that's always been the point. Adventures While Black was never just about events. It was about creating a place where somebody could pull up in Thailand and they could feel, like, okay, I'm not by myself. I can breathe. I can connect here, and I can give me a little melanin recharge with my cousins tonight. That matters to me, for real. So when people ask, even directly, what building community in Thailand really looks like, for me, it looks like consistency. It looks like emotional labor, like leadership, like knowing how to read people, protecting energy, yours and theirs, boundaries, discernment, love, care. It looks like creating something that people can trust. And yes, it does look beautiful on the outside. It's black. But underneath that beauty is some real work. It's work that I'm proud of, and it's taught me a lot. Work that I know not everybody is built for, because it does ask a lot from you. But when it's real, when people genuinely feel what you created, when strangers become familiar faces, and when people tell you that they needed that space, they actually express that to you, that's when it's worth it. That feeling is fire. So if you've ever built something for the people, or you've hosted others, or you've created space in any way, I would love to know, what is something that you think people underestimate about what it takes to build a healthy community? All right, y'all, that's it for this episode of Okay Key. As always, I suggest you stay in your lane, protect your peace, and I'm going to see y'all in the next one. Peace.